Let's talk about your job. What if it could be more than just a job? Today, we're going to break down the architecture of meaningful work. Think of it like a blueprint for turning that daily grind into something that actually gives you a sense of purpose. Some real pride.
So, is your work just a job? I mean, it's a question that kind of sits in the back of your head sometimes, right? Is this it? Well, the good news is there is definitely something more. And the framework we're going to get into today shows that building that something more, it doesn't start with your boss or your company. Nope, it starts with you.
Yeah, this quote just nails it, doesn't it? Wake up with purpose. It's all about connecting what you do every single day to something bigger than just getting paid. See, meaning isn't something that just happens to you. It's not a prize you get. It's something you build inside yourself. It's a choice you make. Okay, so if we're building this architecture of meaning, where do we even start? What's the foundation? Well, it all starts with you, the individual. Before we even get to talking about awesome leaders or amazing company cultures, we've got to look in the mirror. We have to recognize the power we have to shape how we see our own work. This idea is so powerful. It's about these small shifts in how you look at things. It's not always about quitting and finding a brand new job. It's about finding a new way to see the job you already have. Think about it. That path from, this is boring, to, wow, this matters, is all about connecting your daily tasks, even the tiny ones, to the people they actually help. That's when, a boring spreadsheet suddenly becomes part of a success story. A routine task becomes something you can actually be proud of. So how do you actually do this? What's the trick? Well, it's this question right here. Seriously, try it. Imagine waking up tomorrow and the first thing you ask yourself is, what difference can I make today? All of a sudden, your to-do list isn't just a bunch of chores you have to get through. It's a list of opportunities to make an impact. It's like a compass for your entire day. Now, look, having the right mindset is huge. But let's be real. You can't do it in a vacuum. You need the right environment for that purpose to really grow. And that's where leadership comes into play. A great leader doesn't just manage tasks. They create the conditions for meaning to take root. So let's dive into how they actually pull that off. This chart really breaks it down, doesn't it? It shows the two paths a leader can take. On one side, you've got the old model, control. It's all about process, rules, making sure people follow orders. And yeah, it's predictable, I guess, but it puts a ceiling on what's possible. But then you have the new model, inspiration. This is all about purpose, about inviting people to contribute their ideas. And that's where the magic happens. That's where you get creativity, innovation, actual commitment. So, okay, how does a leader make that switch from just being a boss to being an inspiration? It's really these three steps. First up, you have to set a big, bold vision. Everyone needs to know why they're doing what they're doing. Second, instead of just telling people what to do, you ask really good questions. Questions that get the team thinking for themselves. And last, and this one is so important, you genuinely ask for their input. You make it super clear that everyone has a voice and a real stake in this. And that last point, inviting contribution, is the perfect segue to our next big idea, our next pillar in this whole architecture, autonomy. Because it's one thing to ask for ideas, but it's a whole other level to actually give people the freedom to run with them. Now, let's be super clear. When we talk about autonomy, we don't mean chaos. It's not a free-for-all. It's about getting everyone on the same page about the purpose, the what and the why. And once that's clear, you trust your team to figure out the how. You give them the keys and let them drive. And this is why it works so well. This is the psychology behind it all. Trust isn't some fluffy, nice-to-have thing. It's a massive motivator. When you really trust someone with a piece of work, you're telling them, I believe in your judgment. And what you get back isn't just someone following orders. You get someone who takes real ownership. And look at the results. They really do speak for themselves. This isn't just about making people feel good, right? When you give people autonomy, it kicks off this amazing chain reaction. You get ownership, and with ownership comes accountability. And when you mix that freedom with that responsibility, boom, that's where innovation happens. That's how you get those game-changing breakthroughs. Okay, so you've got people who feel trusted and have autonomy. That's awesome. But for them to really succeed, they also need to be growing. And we kind of have to hit the reset button on what growth even means at work today. It's not just about climbing that corporate ladder anymore. I love this comparison because it's so true. For so long, we've seen growth as just climbing titles on a ladder. It's linear, it's limited. But real, meaningful growth, it's more like a tree.
It's not about going up. It's about expanding, growing new skills like branches, exploring new areas, and getting this deep sense of fulfillment that's way better than just a new job title.
So how do you actually make this happen? Well, you treat your people like you'd treat a garden. You give them stretch projects to climb on, like a trellis. You give them mentorship and training, like water. And you give them constant feedback, which is like sunlight. You invest in them, and you just watch them grow.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground, right? We've talked about the individual's role, what great leaders do, the power of autonomy, and what real growth looks like. Now, let's put all these pieces together and see the big picture, what the full architecture of a purposeful culture really looks like. And here it is, the whole thing, built on these 4 pillars. It all starts with purpose. That's the foundation. Then you need trust to make that purpose real. Trust is what allows for autonomy, and autonomy is what creates the space for real growth. You see how they all connect? You can't just pick one. They work together. Take one away, and the whole structure gets wobbly. And this is really the bottom line. Building a workplace like this, one that's based on these pillars, it's not just some feel-good HR initiative. It's a business strategy. When you build a culture that's all about your people, the results, they just happen. They become the natural byproduct of a great environment. So we're ending right back where we started, with a question for you. Because look, it doesn't matter if you run a huge company or you're just in charge of yourself, these ideas still apply. This whole framework, it's not just something to think about, it's something to do. So the real question is, how are you going to use this stuff to build a workplace filled with pride and impact? What's your first step tomorrow?